You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Hey, internet people, what's going on? I just wanted to let you guys know what to expect on this episode, since it's a little bit different than your standard Tone Mob interview style episode. And first of all, we did do this last year. We spent a few minutes at the top of the episode wondering if we had done this before or not. And as a matter of fact, we have done a NAMM recap episode before, but this is sort of a NAMM recap. We definitely talk about NAMM, but we, like all Jay's conversations with me, we go all over the place, all over the guitar landscape, so to speak. So it's a little bit different than a standard interview. This is more like, this is just what happens when Jay and I sit down for a conversation, regardless of whether there's microphones present or not. So it's a good insight into him and I's relationship, I suppose, which is quite fun. He's an absolute treasure, and he also has a awesome YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked that out, the link's in the show notes. But you really need to check out Jay's YouTube channel if you are not already familiar. But yeah, that's all. So it's a sort of a NAMM recap, sort of just a nerd conversation, and I hope you really enjoyed this little extra bonus episode. So without further ado, on with the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the ToneMob.com podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. And on this very special episode, I have returning yet again for a third time, I believe. Yes, a third time. Mr. J. Leonard J. to do some NAMM recappage.
NAMM recappage. I'm excited. I think you and me had some very, very different NAMM experiences.
We did.
So I'm actually this is going to be a good episode. We did this last year, didn't we? We did the NAMM recap.
I was trying to remember if we did a NAMM recap. I almost think we did a pre-NAMM, but I don't remember.
Is that what it was? I don't know.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense why we would have done that, but that's why I think it was in my head.
We just sat and we talked about what we want to do it now. so what we
Or no, I think you were the first. I could be wrong. I'll have to check back. Somebody's going to correct me. But I think you were the first episode of 2018.
Ah, that's what it was. Sorry.
Yes.
I hope I didn't blow your ear out there. I was a little loud when it came to me. Yes, it was the first January episode, I think.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
But I feel like we've done this before, like this talking about the cool stuff we saw at NAMM. I feel like that was a conversation that we have talked about. So I'm excited.
I'm excited. I think this should be a tradition.
Super pumped. We're going to make it. We're making this our new tradition.
I love it.
Just my excuse to show up on your show once a year. Yay me.
Like you need an excuse. You're welcome on anytime.
Oh, stop it now. Come on. So how was that? When did you got in a little later, didn't you?
I got in kind of late on Thursday. I got in about 4:00 on Thursday. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, but I feel like I actually stayed, I actually spent more time at the show this year than I ever have, because normally I normally fly in kind of late on Thursday, and then I stay like Friday, Saturday, and then generally we flew out on Sunday. But this time we didn't fly out till Monday.
Oh, look at you! You had the full. Yeah, see, I left. I came in morning of the Wednesday, and I left. Which is, by the way, for the listeners, it's the day it starts on Wednesday. Came in on the Wednesday, and then I left on the Sunday. So I was only there for like the duration of NAMM, not a minute too like early and not a minute too late.
Well, you had I guess we can each get into our individual NAMM experiences, but you had a grinder of a schedule.
It was nuts. It was a tough. Well, see, it actually, it was a grinder of a schedule in a way. Like, it was a lot of running around, a heck of a lot of running around. if you don't mind me using some really dark language there.
Wow.
But actually, to be honest, it was it was way less work than I've ever done at NAMM, actually breaking it down. I got more day drunk at this NAMM than I think I've ever in any other NAMM I've done. And the reason why is because usually when I do NAMM, I do it, it's more of a thing I do for the subscribers. I bring the camera down there. I bring my little film crew. And we run around and, I talk to all my favorite, people and make little videos. And then I go back home. We do a little, we do our after parties and do our whatever parties. And then I'm up, all night editing video and posting it. And then rinse and repeat every day. So I'm only sleeping maybe an hour a night during NAMM, like, when I'm doing NAMM last season. This time I thought, you know what? I don't want to film a lot of videos. Instead, I wanted to do more booth stuff, you know what I mean? So we made it so that instead of me running around with the camera and everything, I still brought the crew and everything. The only difference is I brought the band, and we played down. You saw us down at the Harmony booth. We were doing some stuff with the Teisco pedals and the Harmony guitars, which were really cool. And then
awesome.
Oh, it was a blast. And then there's the big Roland US, the Boss stage, which was awesome. It was really, really cool. They had a little of a concert kind of set up there with the big main stage and the lights and stuff. So we did it there. And then just a bunch of solo stuff with like Origin Effects, Hughes and Kettner, just really, really good friends and stuff. So it was just it was definitely running around to make it to specific times because I have to be there for certain performances and certain things. But at least I can go out and enjoy the parties. I could drink a little bit more at the parties. I don't have to be up editing. I only filmed like 4 videos while I was at NAMM, and they were all really, really short ones. And just as a thank you for some of the companies that brought me up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I forget that you do all that crazy editing and posting things on the fly most of the time. I remember the first year we met at NAMM. Well, we met, several times, but the first year I met you at NAMM, you had your wife and like everybody was like, it was like a whole family operation.
Oh, it was it was intense, man. It was like a Ford assembly line of people. Like I had people in charge of recording the audio, people in charge of recording the video, people doing sound. And then when we had like this debrief NAMM thing after we got back from the parties, and we pretty much just shared the responsibility so we could shoot out the videos. Actually, after all that was said and done though, like my NAMM videos aren't really my most watched videos just because there's so many NAMM videos on the same products. So it was, it was a lot of work, and I don't know. I didn't really feel it, more NAMM for me, at least personally. It's a selfish thing because, I'm an incredibly selfish person, but for me, it's like meeting, like, you get to meet, Blake from the Tone Mob. You get to meet, Brian from Wampler. You get to meet, and now that I've done it a couple times, they're kind of, we're all kind of friends now. So it's a lot of it is catching up with friends, making new friends, to connections and people. It's actually even more of that than the gear for me. It's just actually a wonderful, wonderful thing. And then the fact that I get to play music there and I get to play with the band and we're playing, shows and stuff. Oh, it's just, that's the way I'm doing it from now on. It's just too fun and just the best. It's awesome.
That is really interesting. You said something that I kept telling everybody too, and they're like, because what's the number one question you get at NAMM, right? It's what was the favorite thing you saw?
Yeah,
and it's like, well, it's not really. I mean, you and I are fortunate enough to kind of work in this, and so we already knew about a lot of the stuff that we were excited about. Plus, people are dropping things early, and all that. So it was like, I already kind of knew what the coolest thing was. So I wasn't really too incredibly interested in going and checking it out, which sounds weird because I'm a gear nerd.
Mm-hmm.
But is it what you said? It was like, oh, I got people to see. Like, I have people that I only see once a year that I interact with all the time. I need to go see them. And that's kind of what it has become for me is just a people finding adventure. Oh. And, like I've told other people, shaking babies and kissing hands.
That's it, man. And it's really nice too, because it's a wonderful thing, especially being in this, like in the media that I found myself in, this whole YouTube world, right? Because when you're doing the YouTube thing, you're kind of living in a bubble. You're in this little bubble, and all your friends are names on, your mailbox, your email inbox, right? And so it's just pretty much you in this bubble and the people you talk to online and this negative comments, So
right. Oh,
when
yes.
when you're at NAMM and you're meeting people and you're starting to, you're recognized and people come up to you and they have not, they have wonderful things to say and they have questions and you can tell that they watch and it really is an amazing ego trip for me. I feel like the coolest guy in the world. This year we came with my my bass player. He brought his son. It's like the 17-year-old kid that is a guitar player. That's what he wants to do for his life and everything like that. So he was, meeting Josh Smith or Josh Scott was huge. Sorry, like it was a big day for him and running around and doing his thing. So it was awesome having him be my assistant because people were noticing me and I looked really, really cool in front of my friend's son. And I'm like trying to be cool, like act like it happens all the time. It never happens. You know what I mean?
Right. It only happens at NAMM.
I get to just be, so that was really nice, at least for all my it's great because I have my ego boost. That's going to get me through, the, the year of, because it's, how it is, how hard it is to make content, how hard it is to make the videos and stuff. And, everyone, I was talking to a pedal builder I will not mention my name, but he was talking about, the fatigue and how it gets to him and the negative press and like what it's like, pushing through and getting through. And it's hard. It's definitely hard. People don't realize what they say. We try not to feed the trolls, but it does affect us in a way. So when you do something like NAMM, it's wonderful because you get that you go, oh, this is why I love doing it. Oh, this is why it's fun. This is why. And then you get to meet the builders and you see how excited they are about the stuff they build and how excited they are about the relationship you two have. And then you're like, oh, this is what it's about. And you fall in love with the gear all over again. You fall in love with everything all over. It's just wonderful. NAMM's it's like the Olympics for nerds.
It is. And it's like I tried to explain like these are the NAMM attendees, outside of the the guys doing business, but like the rest of us, like we are the nerdiest of the nerds. Like we are such big nerds about this stuff that we literally flew down to in the middle of winter, flew down, some people from across the world. For me, it's a short plane ride, but for some people, it's like it's across the country or they're coming from Europe.
Yep.
Like it's a big trip for them, and they're coming to see the blinky lights and twiddle the knobs. It's like we have to be the nerdiest people, at least guitar wise or gear wise on the planet.
It's like anything in the world. Everyone has. For some people it's Comic-Con, and then for some people it's going to the Super Bowl, which was yesterday, by the way, in case you didn't know. Or some people
I missed it.
You missed it, right? Yeah, I pretend I pretend I care, but I really don't know. I care when it's relevant for me to care about it. I'm actually the worst football fan. I wish I was, but some people like everyone has that thing that they're passionate about, that are driven about. Some people have dreams of, I want to see a game in every baseball park in the world, in America. You know what I mean? And,
right.
So it's all it is just getting people together around a banner of something, and it's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
One thing, the kind of sort of not really. I guess it's all about NAMM, so we're not really changing the subject. But one thing I noticed, and I don't know if this because Jess had to keep reminding me, my good buddy and sometimes co-host Justin Porter.
I love that guy.
Was with me, and he had to keep reminding me that I was like, oh yeah, this is like my third NAMM. He's like, no, this is your fourth NAMM. And for some reason, that felt like it's only one bigger, right? But it sounds a lot bigger than three for some reason. I was like, oh, I've been doing this for 4 years.
You're a grizzled veteran.
It's kind of it's kind of weird.
And is it just as fun or is it better, or is it worse?
It's the first year was really exciting because I didn't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. And then year 2 and 3 were very kind of down to business. I had things I needed to do and scheduled things. Well, not 3 as much as 2, but there was things I needed to get done. And this year was a little bit more relaxed, but also I knew exactly what to expect. That's the thing. Like, you know what to do. You know, you gotta slather on the hand sanitizer. You know all the steps basically.
Yeah.
and 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 so it's a little bit different experience. But I will say, this NAMM in particular, I was just as excited for as my first one, and that hadn't been necessarily true in years 2 and 3. I was just really excited to come see everybody, honestly. So it was a fun time. But
yeah, it was
the things that people really want to hear about.
Yes, things. Let's talk about the things people want to hear. What do they want to hear?
I think they want to hear what some of Jay's favorites were at NAMM.
My favorites were at NAMM. Well, as I said, I existed in my own little bubble. I was running around doing a lot of stuff for specific companies, but I did see some cool things. There's trends I saw, like big trends I'm noticing in NAMM. The first thing I'm noticing is has to do with small amplifiers, like really small lunchbox size amplifiers that are like 200 watts or like 65 watts. So pretty much all the Mark bass amps for bass players, all the guitar players just got jealous and everyone's decided to make one now. So I'm seeing a lot of these really small form amplifiers. The best one, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. They all sound fantastic. One I really, really liked was in terms of one that wasn't, I don't know if it was 2. I don't think it was. I think it was Bjorn Yule's new one for one control. Have you seen that thing?
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Didn't try it yet.
It has reverb and tremolo in it, and that's why I like it so much, because I like reverb and tremolo.
Yes, you do.
But it's really small, and it the thing is, it doesn't sound like a new amp. It sounds like an old, like suitcase Silvertone. Like it has that gritty, like flabby. It's nice because usually when I play like a 200 watt amp, they're very pristine. You have fantastic low end response. They have this clarity and everything. But this one, it actually just sounded like an amp. You know what I mean? Like just and it was 65 watts. It was really small. It's still a prototype. Even I think he had it going through an Alessandro 112 cab. I thought that sounded really, really. It was so fun because it was. We talk about it all the time. The first thing I always look at when I go to these guitar shows is the amps. I love amps. Mm-hmm. So that one was one amp that was like, oh man, this sounds really, really. The other thing I'm noticing is it's all about IRs and reactive lows. Everyone doesn't want to record with amps anymore. Maybe that kind of coincides with the small amp thing. Kemper and Fractal's just gotten so big. How not too long after that, Line 6 has the Helix, and then all of a sudden Boss has that GT1000, which is actually, that was the pedal I was using at the Roland booth with the band. I was showing off how you can use it in different ways and stuff. By showing off, I mean I was just playing music for 20 minutes, 30 minutes or whatever when the set was. But I noticed that there's more and more tools about getting your digital amp to use to record with it or to perform with it. So I'm seeing a lot. It's more utilitarian things like the Boss has this new reactive load box.
That thing was insane.
That's awesome. I thought that was the coolest one because it has all reactive load boxes are for modeling 412 cab reactive loads. Every single one, like the Shure one and all of that. But the actual the Boss one, you could have a 112 cab or a 212 cab and you could tune the reactive load. I thought that was awesome. It was awesome. And then you could put your IRs in it. Oh, come on. What are you doing? It's awesome.
Well, and I liked that it was also like, so it was the reactive load, right? That's very important. But what I really liked about it is in live applications, like you could run like 2 different cabs. Yes. Like legitimately 2 different cabs. Because it's like a 150 watt power amp. Class AB power amp, I think, as well.
Yeah, so it's everything.
They called it what they call it. Their tube amp expander is what they called it.
The Waza.
And I thought that was one of the coolest things that I saw at NAMM, because it can make your big amp quieter if you need it to be, or your little amp louder. Like if you have a little amp that you really like but you can't gig with it because it's too quiet, this is perfect.
Yeah, I think what was it? Bad Cat had a thing called the Unleashed back in the day, which they always said they were going to release, and they kind of did, but they didn't, and it was really hard to get. And it did kind of the same thing. There's another thing called the Ultimate Attenuator, I think, that did something kind of like that, or you could get a modded to do it. But they didn't have the IR loader in it too, and the functionality of that Boss thing. I thought, it's not as pretty as the Aux Box, because the Aux Box is a really cool looking thing. But man, if I was going to have to pick between the two, I think I'd actually go for the Boss one.
I think I would too, just because of the functions that it can. It's just so versatile. The Aux Box is great too, and it clearly sounds amazing. But I think this Boss Roland one is the new kind of gold standard.
Oh.
Before that, for me, it was and this was a company I kind of wanted to talk about actually, but the Fryette power station.
Oh my gosh, I remember those. Yeah, man.
Those things are awesome.
Those are cool. Yeah, those are cool. Yeah. I forgot about those.
Yeah, they sound really good. Like it was last year's NAMM. They showed me, they plugged their 100-watt head into it and showed me it was perfect for that application. I think it's a little cheaper than the Boss, so if that's all you need, that would still probably get my vote.
Mm-hmm.
But
but it doesn't it doesn't do the IRs though, right?
No, it doesn't.
That's just like a stage kind of attenuator booster thingy, right? If I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
it's an attenuator or a booster.
But again, see that it's still awesome.
Yeah. Well, and the onboard effects with the Boss, people need to look at that thing. It can do so many things.
And then again, going with that whole thing, Mission Engineering has this new thing that turns your, I would call it full range speaker into a guitar cab. So that way you can use your boxes with it. And then Two Notes has a new mini IR pedal, and then what other companies have? It's everything is just about IRs now. Everything is about load. Sure, they just updated the reactive load. I don't know if this was this year, but they updated the reactive load, so now that you could actually put your IRs in it as well. So it's both an IR box and an IR loader, a reactive load box, right, and an IR loader. So it's. That really, you could see with that mixed with the mini amps, and then you have the other thing, which is I think another thing that I'm sure you wanted to talk about, which is the Benson Chase Bliss preamp box,
of course,
just so cool. But
it's so fun. Yeah. It's so fun.
But
man,
things are changing, man. Things are changing in a big way. Back in the day, transistors were in the 90s or 2000s, man, transistor amps were the lamest thing ever. But now it's all about, that's the whole world now. Now that they have this digital technology that can kind of feel like a real thing, man, I'm telling you, things are changing. Things are changing a lot.
I think so. I feel a little bit bad in some ways because I'm a gear nerd. I'm supposed to be really excited about all the latest stuff, mm-hmm. But because I'm kind of a curmudgeon and I don't necessarily have to I don't have to record in the box.
Yeah,
I can record at volume. I know that's not what most people can do, but for me, the Helix, I can't get excited about it at all.
You can't get excited.
I just don't care.
That's not your bag, man.
No, I get it. If I was touring, I've said this a lot. If I was touring, I would probably have something like that.
Yeah.
Or the GT1000 or whatever. But for me, I do understand that I am an outlier. I'm just sitting here surrounded by, gear and nonsense. No wonder I'm not interested in it. I got too many other shiny objects to pay attention to.
Forget about it.
So I know it's a great tool and they did an amazing job with those modelers, but man, I just can't be bothered with some of them.
And I think that's what those mini amps are for, right? It's for the outliers that are getting older, they have a bad back. Or there's they have these the trend started kind of a little while ago when everyone was making 15-watt amps when they realized 40-watt amps was too loud. So everyone started reissuing the Marshall 18-watters, and the deluxe reverb became popular where it used to be everyone wanted a twin, but right. Now it's 5-watters. Everyone's trying to get 5 watt. They're trying to get even Morgan was showing his new prototype for a 5-watt amp, and I'll tell you,
that's right.
It's awesome. It sounded so good because the problem with 5-watt amps is they always sound like a 5-watt amp. You can get a Champ and put it through a 112 cab, but it still sounds the low end's not there. And it has this. It just sounds small. But now that builders are building these 5-watters, not from the idea of we need a cheaper smaller version for the practicing guy. It's like, no, we want a professional sounding amp, but for someone that is doing musical theater and doesn't want to use a Helix, let's make a 5-watt amp for them. And or we need an amp that we can use with our IR loader. And since we don't need a 100-watt with a with a reactive load, we just make it 5 watts so the guy could easily carry it to his gig. So there's a blend too. There's all kinds of ways to go around this idea of the traveling musician, the musician with a lighter rig, the musician with that needs to get multiple sounds in a gig, right? But
well, you have a lot of experience with that. Yeah. So like if you're going out on tour, like what are you going to pack with you?
Oh, wow. You got me in trouble. I have a lot of different rigs. And it really depends on what I'm going for. So when I was when I'm doing pop, I'm in a pop band and I don't matter. I'm not important. I'm just part of a bigger picture. People are looking at the pretty girls with the costumes. They're not looking at the guitar player. They don't even know. Most of the people in the audience don't even know what a guitar sounds like. You know what I mean? Because there's no guitar solos in like pop songs anymore. You know what I mean? But when I'm doing something like that and I realize what my role is, then I do use I'll use some like a Fractal AX8. Those sound really, really good for what they are. It's quite lovely actually. Especially when I was doing a tour of China, and we were doing all the different, really big plate rooms, like we were doing like the 18,000 seat arenas, 15,000 seat arenas, and stuff like that. And the thing that sucks is I used to have a list of all the amps that I want. I want this amp, I want this amp, and if there's not this amp, I want this amp. And when you go to the thing, I have to show up early with when the drummer shows up, and then I have to come in there and I have to go and sometimes the amp has a crappy speaker, sometimes the amp is all beaten up or it's like the knobs don't work, or it's like the number one thing is sometimes I'll order like, oh, I want a Hot Rod Deluxe, and they get me, oh no, sorry, I want a Fender Deluxe Reverb, and they always give me a Hot Rod Deluxe, and I don't like I'm not, it's a lovely amp, but it's not the amp for me, right? And so there's always a running joke amongst my friends about, oh man, is there going to be a Hot Rod Deluxe at this gig? Because I always ask for the Deluxe Reverb. So it just kind of came as a pain dealing with, oh, this amp is microphonic, this amp has bad tube, this amp has, the reverb doesn't work on this amp, So when I started bringing that small box, I just show up when when the singers show up, and it makes my life a lot easier. That being said, when I know I'm a guitar player and it's a guitar player thing, and people are coming to see guitar, then I bring out the big guns and I bring out all the nice stuff, all the good stuff. I have a separate, if it's just like a power trio, then it's like, that's the one you want to see me in, because usually when I play with like a 5 or a horn section or something like that, I'm playing with a big band like that, it's a simpler setup. I'll have a smaller amp and a very well thought out pedal board. But when it's the it's a trio, then it's all me, right? So yeah, I'll have like the big Benson 212 on there, and the extension to the pedal board, and oh yeah, it's a it's a thing. So yeah, it really comes down. In the end of the day, I really do say, especially when you're looking at all this stuff in NAMM, it's easy. Some people talk about the labor. Oh man, this is the worst thing to happen, and blah 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 blah. But actually, nothing is wrong with having more options. Nothing. And there's a tool for every problem, because in the end of the day, nothing is going to beat of being in a room with a cranked amp. There's nothing, just from a tactile point. I used to do things where I'd ask, if I was using in-ears, I'd get a monitor and put it on the floor and then turn all the treble off and just feel the vibrations on the floor to kind of fake the feeling of an amp. But nothing really beats that. You can't beat that. But that being said, if I'm on the go and I'm recording out of a bad studio, I'm going to get a way better sound out of plugging my amp into a reactive load box going into an IR than I'll get, miking it with a really, like, you get a U87, which is a great mic, but you put the U87 in a crappy room, it's not going to sound as good as actually faking it. So there's a tool for every single thing, you know what I mean? So, and I think that because you're seeing all of these different options to solve the same problem we've been seeing at NAMM this year and in the past, you're seeing the trend getting bigger and bigger every year. I think it's actually really, really good. And I do say all guitar players, don't turn your back, to the change, and also don't, forget about the past too, because there's good things to be had from both ways. Get them all. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, get them all. Get it, everything.
Yeah, like it's the days of like the Red Bean Line 6 modelers. It's over, man. There's some good stuff, but that being said, I'm an amp guy, so I still do tend to find myself go towards
the real thing.
Yeah.
To backtrack a little bit on that same kind of train, I know that you're just as big of a Benson fan as I am.
Yes, I love Benson. He's a great guy.
The man and the amps are great.
Yes, he is.
My friend Keith mainly, but I was there kind of tagging along. He helped, he didn't help. He did the video for the new Benson that just came out, the 5 water, which ties back into what you were saying. Mm-hmm. We went to a studio in Portland and filmed Nathan Jr., who's a local session player, and like he's been doing all of the playing in the Benson demos. And so Chris made him a signature, and it's a 5 water with reverb. And it's kind of like what you were talking about. It sounds huge. It sounds enormous.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, your Vinny sounds pretty huge, doesn't it?
But yeah, I mean, for a 1 watt amp,
it sounds pretty huge itself too.
Yeah, he's good at making everything sound good, but he's really good at making big amps or small amps sound bigger than they are.
I think we talk about this all the time. The first time I met Chris Benson was at the Portland, when we first met in Portland, and he was
at Tacoma.
At Tacoma. Oh yeah, that's right, Tacoma. And the reason why the reason what got me to get one of the amps in my room was because we were in this huge room with all these 100 watt shred amp monster stacks, and his 15 watt amp was the loudest thing in the room. So. And by loudest, I mean it's the one that cut through. It's the one that made itself be known,
Yes,
and that's the one you want to go for.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Sometimes I've been playing the Vincent for so long, which is a 30 watter, and I pretty much play that thing every day. Chris had some tweaks he wanted to make to it, so it's up there at his shop right now, and I've been plugging back into my Monarch, and I'm like, oh yeah. No, this amp is amazing too. I just have been ignoring it for a little while in favor of the Vincent, which is kind of dumb of me. But that 15 watt Monarch is.
I don't know. My favorite Benson sound actually is if you get the bigger one, the 30 watter, the Chimera or whatever. You take out 2 of the tubes in there, like the 2 outer tubes or the 2 inner tubes, and then you just change. You plug your cab into the other impedance input because it's the impedance changes when you do that. That's an awesome sound because it sounds like it's like a 15 watt. It's pretty much it turns itself to a Monarch, only it's a Monarch with this way more powerful power amp or what do you call
transformer,
power transformer, sorry, not power transformer. What's the transformer? Output transformer. There you go.
Yeah.
And so it just sounds tighter and just man,
I've never tried that before.
It's mean. I love that sound. I think if I was going to have him build me another amp, it'd be like some kind of flip top Ampeg style amp, and then it's going to be like a 15 watter with the big output transformer and the bass treble knob. So it'll be like so it's going to be kind of the same thing, but I think that's what I'd have him do. That just sounds too cool.
That would be really cool. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'd say like what I would have him do. What I would have him do is make the Vincent, because that's what we.
Yeah, that's what you did. So. you did your collaboration already. All right.
Yeah, like it was all him, but it was like we were just talking on the phone one day, and it was like I was like, man, the best sound in the world is when you put a Vinny into the front of a Monarch, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, you should make an amp like that where the Vinny's just part of it. It's like 2 amps in one. And like that's the overdrive sound, is just a fully driven Vinny into the clean section. And so that's where the Vincent came from after we kind of batted it back and forth for a little bit, and I strong-armed him into putting an effects loop in it.
Oh yeah, wow, you must have really strong-armed him into putting that thing, and he hates those, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's not a fan. He said they make everything sound like the 80s.
Yeah, I guess there's truth to that. Having
this one's
all the clean crystal effects right after that dirty preamp. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a sound to that.
Yeah, I think I think the reason he gave in was because it's an effects loop, but it's in between the. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
where
it's between the Vinny and the thing. Yeah. Wait. So he's talking about 80s. Didn't he just make an amp with like that was like a Roland jazz chorus with like a built-in chorus and everything?
Well, he's been
Did he
working
do
on
that?
that Ryan
Yeah,
Ryan
Ryan
Adams
Adams thing.
collab.
So there you go. I bet you. There you
Yeah.
go. 80s. Come on, man.
I mean,
What are you
since when
doing?
is sounding like the 80s a bad thing? What are you
I think
talking
so.
about?
Like the 80s. Actually, that makes me think of actually my favorite new pedal company that I noticed in NAMM had.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, right? Actually, they approached me a while back to do a couple demos on some pedals they were working on, and so I did their 2 latest pedals, which are great. And then I went down to their booth to say hi and just finally meet them in person. And I sat down, and I will say that was the most fun collection of pedals. Like just fun, awesome, well designed pedal. It's a company from Greece. They're called Crazy Tube Circuits. Have you ever heard of these guys?
Yeah, I have heard of these.
I've never
guys.
heard
Yeah.
of. They were out of my world, right? And they sent me this pedal called the Falcon, which was really great. It's just kind of like their Tweed. It's like a Tweed Deluxe in a amp in a box kind of thing. And then they sent me this other thing called the Limelight, which I thought was an outstanding fuzz. I'm very, very picky with fuzzes, and I thought that was an outstanding fuzz. So I was really excited to meet them. And I went to their booth, and they had just had the cool, like it was a really fun and a very creative and goofy, and it wasn't and it was nice in a way that is different than some of the other companies. Like they have like they have this one box that it's a big pedal, but it's what do you call it, a 3-spring reverb with a built-in tremolo.
Okay.
And it's powered by your pedal board, 9-volt.
It's a real spring reverb.
Yeah, and you just plug your 9-volt in there, and I plugged into it, and I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever. And it sounded so, because I don't like using spring reverb pedals because they don't sometimes sound as good as they do in my head. Right, in my head, spring reverb sounds like something. When I get a pedal version of it, it's not quite that sound. That is the sound. It sounded so good. I don't know what it is, or how, like, I don't even know how much the springs have to do with what's going on. I don't know what's going on there. I just know that it sounded really darn good. It blew my mind. I actually thought it was fantastic. And it's like, yeah,
that's really cool.
And you could actually plug an external reverb on off and tremolo on off switch to it, so you could actually just have it on top of your amp and just treat it like an old school reverb tremolo unit kind of thing. I thought it was a cool pedal. That was cool.
That is cool.
And then
that's cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
And then they have this other pedal that they just came out with. Just like their line. You should actually, because I don't know about them. And then when I looked at them, they had like 2 full pedal boards full of pedals, and they were all really, really neat. One was their new one, which is a programmable thing. It's like 80s in a box. It's like has a chorus and like the digital delay. And what was the third thing it had? It had another thing. And I just remember it sounded so 80s. And you could actually go out direct, just like, the 80s where they just plug direct to the console. You could do that with it. And it has like voicings and tweakings for it. But it actually did sound like a Police album. It was like the most like 80s speaking. That's what I was thinking about. It was like, speaking of 80s tones, I couldn't stop playing the chorus on that thing. It was just so fun. And it was like that wonderful, pristine. There's a thing about 80s clean tone that is so it's a sound, man. And it's a very it's very specific. I forgot what's that third. And you could program it and do. There's a lot of really cool. There's a speaker simulator, and so you do a lot of cool things you can do with it. You could use it like as an outboard piece of gear for a different pedal, like for a bass, or you could do it with anything. But I thought that sounded awesome. And then they have this delay unit, and it has multiple heads. But the way it works is each head has its own volume knob. So you could actually come up with some really cool sounding delays, and it's stereo. You could stereo it too. So it's set up like an old tape machine with multiple heads, but instead of just choosing which heads are on or off, you could actually choose how loud each head is and what combination, in what combination you want. You could come up with some crazy crazy fun sounds with that thing. And there's knobs, there's no menus, it's just knobs. So you could just go get sounds quick. And that was another just dynamite pedal. And they make this other pedal that was like, it was an envelope filter. It was actually very similar to another pedal I did a video called The Foos. But it was like an envelope filter with a vintage style octave fuzz. So and you mix them together and it sounds like a synthesizer, like a really lo-fi glitchy synthesizer. And that was a really fun pedal to play with. So you can tell that there's some really fun, creative things. Of course, they have, a couple cool, the overdrives are voiced very well. The clean boosts are voiced very, very well. But I like the layout and I like the way they approach the pedals. And I'm not paid by them to say any of this, by the way. This is just me walking around and going, I got to meet these people. They were really, really awesome to deal with, and they're wonderful people. I just want to see what's at their booth. And I went there and I spent way more time there than I should have. I had to play every single one of their pedals. I couldn't stop. I was just going like one after the other. So that was my find. That was the things the memory of companies that stood out for me from Crazy Tube Circuits.
Very cool.
From Greece.
I got to check that out. That delay sounds so on my alley.
Dude, it's fun. It's fun. And it's goofy. And it's because, a lot of the pedals I'm seeing right now are a lot of ambient kind of pedals and like very, very ethereal kind of things, but me, I kind of like that old school, kind of sound. And I think I seem to have a very similar outlook on what I like tonal than they do. We kind of match. So I like that company.
That's really cool. That's really neat. I'm gonna have to do some digging. I've definitely seen them around before, but I never did explore as deep as I should have. Apparently, I'm really behind the curve.
Yeah. Well, go on.
Why is anybody even listening to me right now? I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Hey, you know what? If this podcast inspires you to pick up one of their pedals, I want you to make sure that you tell them that Jay sent, because I want them to know how much I like what they're doing. I think they're doing great stuff.
Yes, that'd be great. Let's see. There was something I wanted to ask you about, and I don't remember. Oh, yeah. Did you happen to see the PolyFX booth?
No, I didn't. You know what? I hung out with the PolyFX guy, and his impeccable fashion sense.
Oh, totally.
Wow.
Man, you look
the only
best dressed.
Like Ascot with like the flower like blouse shirt with like the velvet blazer with like the red pants and like the he was just in the zone, man. He was cool. He was like a modern day Austin Powers.
But even the coolest part, his name's Loki.
Yeah, forget like this guy was designed to win life. You know what I mean?
He was.
But
exactly.
I spent a lot of time hanging out with him and talking to him at NAMM, but I didn't get a chance to go to or not NAMM at that pedal stomp box party. But I just did not have a chance to go and say hi in like at his booth, and I actually really regret it because I really wanted to check that thing out. What did you think?
Well, it's kind of mind blowing. So I didn't get a chance to dive into his MIDI controller. There was somebody messing with it while I was there, so he showed me the pedals, and the pedals are crazy. I talked about this. I don't remember where I talked about this. Maybe I talked about it a little bit on the Chasing Tone podcast. I can't remember. So if this is the second time you're hearing me talk about it, I'm sorry. But he had like an analog one and a digital one. Mm-hmm. The analog one was like a boost drive thing, but the way you could route things, they both had 4 ins and 4 outs. And it was all touchscreen.
Yes.
Like, so you could digitally control all these different parameters on this drive boost preamp fuzz thing. Like, it could do all of the sounds, and that you could route them in all these crazy ways, in parallel, or you could run, the dirt, processed out one side to clean out of a different side. Like, it was just crazy. And then you hop over to the digital one, same interface, but it controls digital effects like reverb and delays and modulations. And yeah, like I said, all touch screen, all super, super advanced stuff. And it would definitely be one you'd have to dive into, but I think they have possibilities in there that probably have never been able to be done before.
Pretty amazing.
They're really insane.
And it's a cool way of approaching everything. You know what I mean? It's just neat. Like if you showed up, You showed up at the gig with some of that stuff, man. blow people's minds right off.
Yeah, they'd be like, he had these touchscreen boxes.
What is he doing? What is that?
Pressure sensitive MIDI controller, like all these crazy things. But it's interesting stuff he's doing over there for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. It's just there's so much creative stuff now that like the everyday guitar player is embracing digital stuff. Things are just like the doors finally just completely wide. Back in the 90s, if you said you were gonna have the heartbeat of your amp or your gear is gonna be like this digital delay Strymon thing, or like basing your rig off something like an H9 or or having shimmer reverbs, these digital people would like, what are you doing, man? It's garbage. But now people realize there's actually a lot of really cool stuff you can do with the digital technology mixed with your analog stuff, and it just opens up the whole world, man. Opens up the whole world, and things are Chase Bliss, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. It's change. It's the whole landscape's changing. It's a wonderful, wonderful time to be a guitar nerd.
Oh man, yeah, the stuff we get to mess with and see, it's awesome because my favorite thing to do is to find new sounds, and there's never been a better time to find new sounds.
Oh yeah, well, like the 90s, it was all about getting the old sounds because you couldn't get the old sounds easy. Here's a tone bender. You can't get a tone bender, so I'll make a tone bender. This is a tube screamer made with better parts. This is a Proco Rat, made with, better parts, or this is a tweaked fuzz face. This is a tweaked Vox wah wah, so we had, about 15 years of just better, more refined versions of the pedals that we could probably never play in our lives because they're rare, or pedals that are too expensive to buy, or pedals that, maybe weren't well made, like those old muffs that would just fall apart. Now we have all the whole world. Now that I think that every company's already made their tube scraper. Every company's made their big muff. Every company's made their, memory man style. So now people are just going, okay, let's just explore. Let's go take it to a different place. So we've pretty much just gone full circle back to the
80s. which is just fine.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But literally we have.
In a lot of ways, yeah, because like I remember, well, I don't remember. I was just barely born. But back in those days, people were like, "Oh, synth is gonna kill the guitar," and in a lot of ways, that was seemingly true at the time. But then, Nirvana happened and guitar came back, and I think now though people are looking for they just like there's so many tube screamers, right?
Yeah.
Do we need another tube screamer? I don't know. Probably not. I think we've probably got them covered.
we got it. We figured it out.
Yeah,
we got it.
We've established this one. We have boosted the mids for all we can.
Do we have one that is true bypass and has maybe more bass? We have one of those.
I think we might be able to come up with something.
They got that covered? Okay, yeah, I think they got everything now then. Okay, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and they make one. I think we can get a 3-band EQ for you if you need it.
You can get an 8-band EQ if you want. What are you talking about? But
this is true.
But, it's funny. It's like after all this, and now we're going back into the digital technology. Now we're going into transistor amps again. Now we're going to all of this. It's the 80s again. Congratulations, we did it.
Mm-hmm. Look, we've done it. We should have just stayed in 1987. It would have been fine.
Some good stuff. It's just like the 80s, only just with. It's like the 80s, the way the 80s kind of wanted the 80s to be. How many times I said 80s? You know what I mean? Because 80s was the early days of computers and the early days of stuff, and it was really expensive. Like to get like a one of those like old school reverb units for your studio. Those things were expensive, man. Like now anyone can get it. Now anyone can do it. Now anyone can make it. So it's pretty much you have. Just more, the technology is better. It's more accessible to people. It's cheaper. It's what the 80s, the cool stuff about the 80s is really coming back now. And it's really great.
It's interesting that you brought up some of that rack gear from the 80s. This episode brought to you by the 80s.
Brought to you by the
80s. I was talking to somebody the other day. Who was it? Remember who it was. I'm sorry if I can't remember. It might have been at NAMM. I don't remember. Might have been on the show. Oh well, my brain's not working. But we were talking about something that, like, well, shouldn't say too much, but we were talking about a certain piece of rack gear that I own that we were studying very intensely for an upcoming project, and then he brought up, like, well, yeah, there's so many of that old 80s rack gear that has wild sounds in it that we've kind of forgotten about, and they're available pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And so it was like, kind of got me down this somewhat of a rabbit hole thinking about all these vintage rack gear.
Are you gonna buy a rack? You can get a little refrigerator system.
I mean, I don't know why not.
Like one of those old Korg tuners that take up like a whole row, so you see that little bouncing needle going back and forth when you're tuning your guitar.
Of course, that just makes all kinds of sense. Of course, that's what I'm gonna do.
How much ring modulator is too much ring modulator for my tone? Like, do I need a dry blend for my ring modulator?
Yeah, there's no such thing as too much ring mod. Yeah. You got to have all of the ring.
See, there was no dry knob back then. You would actually have to get a whole separate unit and bus everything, right? You'd have your brain and then bus out to your like delays and like. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We're gonna build. You know what we should do? Let's build a rack, like the best sounding rack we can. Make the greatest tones. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's and we're gonna buy an old refrigerator and convert the refrigerator to hold all our rack gear.
I love this idea.
And the more
I don't see how we can lose.
The more awesome and bonus points if you could fit your, like we could implement the head, of our amplifier into this rack gear. We could implement and then we'll have and the more overkill it is, like we'll have a reactive load box. And we'll have like one of those 2-note things just in case. You know what I mean? We'll have all kinds of stuff. It'll be ridiculous. Actually, then again, you go to any touring act, everything they do is in rack gear,
That's what I was going to say. Like, it's not that weird. I just think like we don't use it anymore.
Yeah, we buy Kempers, right? That's kind of they do instead, right?
Yeah, they're like, well, we don't have to do that. One of the craziest things I've seen lately, this is sort of, I guess it's not really related to NAMM, but I've talked about before, I'm a big Jason Isbell fan. And he posted his rig the other day he has so much gear. He had all of the Chase Bliss pedals. He had like, a Klon and like all in this, like you say, this crazy rack setup. Yeah. And I was thinking, I was like, wow, like, I mean, I never would have imagined he was that big of I knew he was a gear nerd, but I didn't know, listen to his music. It doesn't sound like somebody who would have that many pedals, but I was totally wrong, apparently.
It's
really crazy.
I always try to pride myself in trying to get the most amount of sounds with the most basic pedal board. So like, I find there's an art to that, like I want my board to be this big, but I want to be able to have all the sounds I need for this. Maybe that's why I have so many different rigs depending on the show, just because I need, certain gigs need certain sounds, certain gigs don't. And I don't want to take up extra space. I'd rather just be able to walk in my room, go up and down my thing. Oh, this is the rack. This is the pedal board I need for this gig. And oh, this is the pedal board I need. As opposed to like constantly, having one giant board or like having, too many, relying completely on my whole rig being digital or anything like that. I just like being able to pick and choose. But I think there is an art to having everything really compact, and there's less chance of things going wrong.
Yeah, I think that there is it's a convenience factor, but then it's kind of fun. Like it's like, how many pedals can I fit on this little thing? Like it's like a challenge.
What's the oldest pedal on your board right now? Like not oldest is in age, but the longest you've had it.
Well, I'm guilty of something, Jay, and that is I still
haven't made a pedal board.
Still haven't made a pedal
board. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Cool. Dynamite.
So, yeah, it's actually sitting over there on the floor, looking at me very dejectedly and wondering why I don't love it anymore.
You need to make a friend at a pedal board company. Have them send you like 4 or 5 pedal boards, and you just make 5 like awesome, like and then have that little spot for like your pedal of the week, pedal of the day.
swapping in and
Swapping
out.
in
Yeah,
and out.
I just
You don't need it. That's right. I forgot.
Well, no, I do need it actually, because we're gearing up to move my buddy's drums over here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna turn this shred shed into an actual practice space, as it was kind of intended to be. So I do need to get something set up so that I'm not scrambling to throw a bunch of stuff on the floor every time we want to practice. I can just plug in and rip.
Like when you have a gig, what do? You like throw everything in your backpack and just run out and put it together during the attack?
Oh, I don't gig, Jay. I'm old.
You're never too old to gig, dude. Keith Richards is still gigging, man. Forget about it.
Well, yeah, this is true. This is true. No, I've never. I mean, I've played live, a few times here and there, but I've said this before. Like, I never really gigged. I never really. I mean, I kind of wanted to for a little bit, and then after talking to some more musicians, it was like, that doesn't actually sound very fun. I don't know. I'm like a recording. I'm a studio guy.
You're
really enjoy.
Some people are like that. I get that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. I love.
But you clearly are the opposite.
I love playing live. That is the best in the world. It's so funny when you're in the studio. It's about perfection, and when you're live, it's not. It's about chaos. And what sounds the best live concerts are the ones that sound the worst in the recording when you're driving home. Like if you record a concert, like if you go home and you're play back the concert and everything sounds amazing, like really good, I feel like it wasn't that good of a concert. It's like when there's something about the chaos, and I like it. Oh my God, my cable's not working anymore. Oh my God, I broke a string. Oh my God, like this is happening. Oh, when you went and saw me at the Harmony booth, right? I had this one pedal. I just didn't even know, like it wasn't working right. It just started oscillating all over the place. Oh, okay, let's figure that. It's like putting out fires. It's the best feeling. I feel more alive than anywhere when I'm playing live.
You're a different cut of you have a different way of life than I do. Like I'm like yeah, I just gotta take it easy. Things, it'll be, and Jay's like, "Ha, woo, let's go." It's like it's a totally. I'm just like, we're just gonna, we'll get there. We'll be mellow. But Jay's, I don't know. You're so hyper excited about it. Everything. It's actually. I talked about this with I think with Wampler. It's like infectious. It's like I want to be around Jay. I want to hang out with Jay because he's so stoked. Like there must be awesome things going on because he is so stoked about it.
Well, because it's fun, it's so fun when you get to share music with people. I get an enjoyment out of it, at least. Some people maybe everyone's in music for different reasons. People love music for different reasons, or it brings out different things. And the thing I always loved about music is the community aspect of it, the getting all these people from different political thoughts and ideals and whatever, races and whatever. It's just people, and they are into something, and they're like in this one moment, they're all kind of united in something so silly. Because if an alien was looking at us, it's literally a guy looking at a bunch of people making a horrible noise, and people like smiling and like high-fiving, and like it must look like absolute idiot. Like it looks crazy. But being able to create that an energy like that, and be the people responsible for that. That is just what life for me is completely about. You know what I mean? So it's too much fun.
Yeah. I wonder, I've talked about this before in the context of a robot takeover, but I suppose aliens would be kind of the same thing. Like, do you think the aliens would be like so evolved, or the advanced robots, whatever the case may be, would they be so, evolved past human that art wouldn't make any sense? Or do you think they would still understand it?
You know what? It's hard to. I'll ask my dog and see what he thinks. What does this painting? Does this mean anything to you?
Yeah. Do you care?
Yeah, I don't.
Like, I don't know.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know too many other, beings that I could communicate with, that have thought like at the level of a human. So it's hard for me to figure that out. But I do know that it is something very human to like art. Art is something so human. Like think about it. Like like we'll not only try to build a thing, but we'll complain about, oh, this thing doesn't have an RC4588D chip in it, right? Right? The dog just wants the stick to work. He doesn't care if the stick's made out of oak. He doesn't care if the stick's made out of hickory. Doesn't care if the stick's made out of, he just wants the stick. He wants to play with the stick. We find art in everything. We try to find art in everything we do. I think that's really cool about us. I don't know. It's really neat. I like creating.
That is true. It is true. And I definitely view what all these builders, the luthiers, the amp guys, the pedal guys, like, I do view it as an art form.
It's art.
Even if it is technical.
Oh, it's art.
Like,
just look at their circuit boards. Just look at how they lay out a circuit board. Why they choose to put things in a certain place. It's a challenge. You have the limited amount of space. You don't want to create any noise. So you want to minimize your noise, but then again, you give 3 people the same goal. All their circuit boards are going to look completely different. There's an art to everything. And that's what, and we argue over that. Does it matter? Does rosewood really sound better than maple, or does, whatever we pay? It's because, so much goes into every little, it's lovely. I'm overwhelming myself now. I'm getting emotional here. What's going on?
There's a lot to absorb. I know. Here. There's a lot.
Well, think about it. Like, how many different ways are there to make a telecaster? I played an amazing, you saw that Jennings guitar I was playing at NAMM. Going back to NAMM.
Yeah.
That was really fun. That was another thing I really enjoyed.
The Jennings is, I'm looking at one right now.
Oh, yeah.
There's a telly.
Oh, you got an old telly? Is that what you know?
Yeah. I got the telly over there. Well, it's a Navigator. It's not a telly. Because Fender makes that.
Yeah.
Right?
I did. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go home with my Navigator. It's coming in the mail. That Navigator that I was playing at NAMM, there was a little tweak that needs to be done to it. The J. Leonard tweak.
Nice.
The J. Leonard tweak. And he wanted to make sure it was perfect, but I actually had so much.
Oh man, it's very, very well. All of his guitars are nice. Did you play that baritone?
Yes, I did.
Voyager?
Yes, I did.
Man,
that was a beautiful guitar. My favorite of all the guitars he makes, and it's one that I've had my eye on for how long. It's the Jennings. What's it called again? It's the, what do you call it? The offset one he makes, the
I think it's the
Voyager Deluxe. It's like a semi-hollow.
Yes.
He makes Voyager Deluxe with a baked maple neck, and then he has it with the gold hardware, and it's black, and it has the wood sides, like the natural color sides. That thing was devastatingly pretty. It was devastatingly pretty. It was lovely, and I think about that in my dark moments alone. I thought that was really.
And they're such nice guitars.
They're nice
too.
people.
Like, they look great. Oh yeah, wonderful people.
Yeah, him and his wife.
Chad was on the show. He's great.
He came down to the Harmony show that you went to, right? He was there too.
I don't think he was there for that one. He was probably at his booth.
Oh, he probably went to a different one then, because he did show up to one of the performances. It
was probably the Boss one. I missed the Boss one.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. That was
fun. Yeah. He's like, yeah. Like, all my guys went to it, and I was being dumb. I was somewhere. By the time I found out about it, it was probably over.
Well, you know what?
It was
I missed your pizza party, so we're even.
Yeah, you did. You missed the pizza party.
I can't believe I missed your pizza party. I've done it every time I've been there, and I knew where it was. I knew when it was, but I just got caught up in NAMM, and by the time I looked at my watch, it was way too late, and I knew it had to be over, and my heart was broken.
Oh man, well. I'm sorry you couldn't be there.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Like, I heard, everyone was there, all my friends. Oh God, I don't talk about it.
It was a pretty amazing turnout.
That's what I heard. It was really busy, wasn't it? It was like 100 people. That's what I heard. That's the rumor. Is that true?
I don't think there was 100, but no, there wasn't 100. I don't think we would have fit there. But there was easily 70. Some people had to come and eat and leave. But most people were there. There had to have been 50 or 60 that stuck around the whole time.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of things I miss out on when I do.
Oh, me too. There's you can't hit everything. It's impossible.
There's this big show that they have at NAMM down at the JT Schmitz on I think it's the Friday night or whatever night it is, and it's like just heavy hitter after heavy hitter, just all the chops, all the schooling, all the notes, like just heavy hits. And my crew, they always go to it. They have such a good time at it. They cry at it. They're just amazed at the musicianship and everything. and I miss it because it's always the same day as the pedal party. And I always
the Earthquaker
and I always
party.
go to the pedal party, the bowling party first. And like that's the one I end up getting drunk at the bowling the bowling alley. I got blitzoed with the Origin Effects guys. Let me tell you.
Oh no!
Destroyed with the Origin Effects guys. I like them. They're good friends. They were really great to get.
Oh man.
Yeah, but yeah,
good.
Very, very good people. But yeah, so I always miss that. I always feel bad because when we get back, they're telling me about all the musicians. They have like 100,000, like their whole phones are just full of videos that they just been waiting to show me of just like all these chops, and just awesome stuff. And then, I'm kind of sitting there, but then again, that I go to NAMM for that Stomp Box party, man. I live for that just because that's where I get to finally get everyone, talk to all the people. So it's like I'm torn because like there's the musician in me that really wants to check out the music, but then there's the heart, the human in me that just wants to hang out with all the stuff. Like a heart.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one that everybody looks forward to because it's just like it is very much, especially for us and for all the pedal builders. It's like these are people we talk to like all year long on a very regular basis, And then you finally get to see him. It's just so much better.
Who was that guy? There's a guy that was it you? So he just ran up to you and he just hugged you and you fell on the floor and he was like hugging you?
I don't think.
That was,
I mean, I
was I thinking of someone else?
I don't remember falling on the floor at all. I was doing pretty good.
I remember just someone maybe it was maybe I wasn't. Maybe that just happened in my head. Maybe. That was like a beautiful mind kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like it's an imaginary friend of mine, but I remember that happening to someone I knew. I thought it was you. Maybe it could have been like Kevin Equitz or something. I don't remember. But
oh man, I'm not sure. I don't think it was me. I didn't fall on the floor.
That's a shame. I think you did. I did have one of the greatest moments of my life, playing pool with the Origin guys and call it the Earthquaker. And we were playing pool, and I had the best run of pool. I'm the world's worst pool player, like actually legitimately the worst pool player. I try to, I don't even know what end to hit the ball with, but somehow I cleaned the table. I like cleaned it. I cleaned it like a guy eating a steak dinner. You know what I'm talking about? Like it was just demolished.
Oh man, like all gone.
Like everything. But not too many people are there to see it, so I'll always just forever exist in my memory. And I just bring it up right now just so that it's documented somewhere in the internet that at one point in time I actually did awesome at pool. So there you go. There you go.
Noted.
NAMM
I'll put
stories.
That in the show notes too.
Hashtag NAMM stories.
One time Jay did awesome.
One time Jay did. Yeah, people are coming like, I want to learn about gear. We end up talking about 80s rack mount stuff, and we end up talking about my pool playing abilities at NAMM. But hey, that's how our conversations go, isn't it?
I know, even when they're not recorded, it just kind of is. This is exactly like a normal conversation.
It just happens that way. Oh, okay. I keep trying to steer it back to NAMM. No, it was cool on NAMM that I didn't get to try, but know why? Because it was the EHX mono synth pedals.
That looked cool.
I know, I wanted to play.
I didn't get to try it, but it looks awesome.
It's exactly what I've been looking for my entire life. I'm going to get my bass player one. I'm going to get myself one of them. It's just happening. It's just the reality of the world that's happening. I'm going to get one. Actually, did you try Rubber Keeley synth pedal? It's more like it's like a slow gear kind of. Remember that pedal? The slow gear was kind of like slow. Brings the sound in.
Yeah, but you could get those gnarly fuzzy waves.
Yeah,
in there, though, too.
Yeah. That obviously a very, very different thing than what they're going for with the mono synth, but I thought that was a really fun pedal. And that Wampler came up with the most un-Wampler-like pedal. That was like the most, like I would have never seen Wampler coming. Like I would not expect Wampler to come out. Even the way it looks, it's like what, who, what Wampler, what?
I know Brian really well. We talk all the time. I didn't know that they were working on that. Like I'd tried some other prototypes. I'd played the prototype for the Frustration like a long time ago. And so like I feel like we have a repertoire and we're connected. I didn't have a clue that was coming until like the week before.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've been working on this the whole time and you didn't say anything? And he was like, oh, well, I guess I just forgot. I'm like, thanks, Brian. Thanks for that.
That thing. It's cool, man.
But yeah, and I legit, I don't just say this because I really like Brian. I was legitimately super excited about the Terraform.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was so awesome. Sounded
I can't wait to
great.
get on
I
my
played
desk.
it in stereo there for a little bit with a little reverb on it.
I like you just get to pick where you put it in your chain. You can put two different things in different parts of your chain. Come on, that's smart. That's smart. I can't wait to get it on my bench. I can't wait to get it on the bench and start playing with it. That's gonna be great.
And the other thing that's great about it is it's like deep, like it has a lot of functions, but it's so easy to dial in.
And that's the hard part. That's the hardest part of building a pedal, I think, because you could make anything nowadays, but how do you make it in a way that you can fix it really quickly if things go wrong on stage? That's like a big thing for me. Like a big, because as again, you know how I like chaos when I play. I because I like the chaos. I don't like staying in it, but I like getting in it. But I want to be able to get out of it easily. So I want the knob. When I see a knob, I get kind of scared sometimes when I get a pedal and there's no writing on the knob, so I don't know what the knobs do. You know, because when you're live and when you're playing live and maybe you had a couple too many drinks, or you're at the very end of your set and something's going weird and you're looking at this pedal, there's no, the unlabeled knobs aren't cool anymore. You know what I mean?
They were aesthetically pleasing, but they're not good. They're no good.
It was cool when you had it at home and you could go, ooh, it does this. And oh, what a cool sound. I could use my ears and change. But when you're live, that's not happening, man.
No, definitely not. Well, Jay, we did it. We hit it. We hit the mark. So you have any last thoughts you want to add before we wrap up this main section?
Oh my gosh. Well, follow your heart. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out. I'm trying to think of like any other awesome stuff that I saw at NAMM that I wanted to bring up. I actually, if you're interested, the amps I really like. They're not really that new, but check out some of the Player Series stuff by Bad Cat. I thought those were really, really nicely voiced. Ooh, if you want another old amp that I really like that I never played until NAMM, the AC20 by Morgan. I want one really bad now.
AC20 is nice.
I want it. I just want it in my life. I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. More gear that I saw, and I guess some of the stuff has been around for a while, but stuff I never heard, and now I really love. If you're a vocalist and you're singing into a mic, I think the new mic I want to use is I think it's called the ND96 by Evie. If you're a live vocalist, you want something that sounds better than an SM58, I'd get one of those.
Oh, really?
Awesome. I'd take that any day. I was using a Sennheiser E935 for years and years and years. I still like that mic. I use that one. It's the cardioid, not super cardioid, because I move around a lot when I sing. And I think I like that Evie mic. That was awesome. Really cool. And I'm trying to think of other things that really stood out to me. NAMM was awesome.
That works for me.
Awesome. Yeah, but thanks for having me. I love being on the show, and I'm looking forward to being on next time too.
Oh yeah, we might even have to sandwich something else in between. It's always
anytime. My schedule is always wide open for you, Blake.
Oh, thank you very much, Jay. All right, I think I'll go ahead and wrap this up. So for Jay, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. Man, I always have the best time talking to Jay. Really should do that more often. It's such a treat. And if you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did, you can get more over on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/tonemob. Jay and I continued speaking. We actually had more to say, if you can believe that. Can you believe it? More to say about stuff and things and gear and nonsense. So it's over there for as little as $5 a month. You can get extra Tone Mob episodes every week, at least. In this case, you get a bonus. So if you enjoy these conversations, there are more to be had right over there at patreon.com/tonemob. Check it out. And last but not least, if you want to support the show and you just want to do it through your normal gear buying habits, there's always tonemob.com/reverb. If you use that link, anything you do through reverb.com, whether you are, even if you just sign up, If you've never used Reverb.com and all you want to do is sign up, that helps support the show. Any transaction, buying, selling, you use that link, and it will help keep this thing going. And it doesn't cost you anything extra. Just a little percentage of the purchase goes to the show and helps keep everything going. So that's tonemob.com/reverb for all of that stuff. A lot of you guys have already been using that link. That's been very well received, and I really, really appreciate that. If things keep on track, hopefully by the end of the month or maybe the end of March, we might actually cover the server costs for this show. The hosting and all that stuff costs some money, and if you guys keep using that link to do all your Reverb.com purchases, that'll all be covered, and nobody will have to worry about it. So thank you very much for everyone that has used it, and yeah, it really, really means a lot. So thank you. And also, thank you for listening. We couldn't do it without you. There's no reason to do this if nobody was tuning in. So a huge thank you to all of you. Each and every one of you. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'll catch you here in a couple days with a regular Tone Mob episode, and yeah, hope you enjoy. Okay, bye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.